program. And I want to call upon Zainab Wandati to come on stage. I mentioned that Zainab Wandati is a climate editor at Nation, but her scope is wide. She handles various other things, including this particular sector and the subject matter that we are speaking about, which is renewable energy. That is also part of her responsibility. And that's why she will be taking us through the diversity, inclusivity, and innovation in energy discussion. A discussion that, just like the other discussion, is going to leave us richer, better, and make us feel that we have picked something from this Sustainable Energy Conference in its second edition. Zainab, thank you very much. This crowd here is happy about the sessions, and this crowd here, because we have an exciting tour coming up later of this particular geothermal plant, would want to be released completely at 2:30, having done your session and having done the masterclass, so that at 2:30 we leave, have lunch, and proceed with the tour, and we'll call it a day. So at this particular point, Zainab, karibu sana, make this as exciting as you always have.
Hi. Of course there will be a quick fire. Of course there will be a quick fire. So for my next guests, I hope they are ready for that. It's good to see you all. I'm sorry we are taking your lunchtime, but I promise to make it short so that when we end this, we can all just proceed to the tour. So we're going to talk about smartest in investments in Kenya that are not being talked about enough, and this is inclusion. So to set the scene, I'd just like to know what you guys think about women in leadership and how these companies or organizations that have women at the top of their leadership or young people at the top of their leadership, how you think they deliver. Do they deliver better, or do all male dominations or all Gen X? It's the generation before millennial is Gen X or boomers. Do they work better, or the younger people, or do organizations deliver better results when all these generations are working together and when the men and the women are working together? So we know that women make up 70% of Kenyans without access to clean cooking fuels, even though they are the ones who are doing the bulk of this labor. They are the ones doing the bulk of the cooking. And they also hold at least only about 20% of the senior roles in the energy sector. So they do the bulk of the work in the cooking. They are the ones who need these clean cooking solutions the most, but they're not at the table when the decisions are being made. Only about 20% of them are at the table when the decisions are being made. And if you look at our population, Kenya's population, overwhelmingly young, 75% of the population, 30 years and under. This basically means we have no choice but to include these young people in decision making. But then when you look at energy investments that are targeting youth innovation, they're about, who wants to guess how much goes to youth innovation? Random number. Anyone? Random number. You can just shout a number. How much energy investments do you think goes to young innovation? Innovations by young people? 5%, 10%, 20%, 30%? Random number? 12. Yeah, thereabouts. It's about 15%. About 15%. So this just means inclusion is not an option. It's not an option because it's about fairness and about economies. And also looking at, do people work better together, or when you let one demographic do the work? So to bring this conversation home, I now want to call upon my panel. I hope they're all in the room. Alia Iqbal. Alia, in the room? Yes, welcome. Alia serves as Business Development Support Specialist at WTS Energy. And she's been working across East Africa, and she has unique insights into regional gender dynamics in the energy sector. Looking forward, you can sit anywhere. Looking forward to hearing those. James Ngomeli. James is also in the room. James is the executive chair of Brands and Beyond Limited, and he brings private sector perspectives into this conversation, particularly inclusive business models. Engineer Banis Mumbua, she works as an engineer in technical affairs at KenGen. And she has expertise of women in energy infrastructure. By the way, I think we should clap for KenGen. A lot of KenGen's engineers are women. A lot of KenGen's engineers are women. I think they're doing far much better than a lot of organizations in the country and in the region. Last but not least, Geoffrey Gitagia. Geoffrey represents Avenue Healthcare. Geoffrey, you in the room? Yes. He represents Avenue Healthcare, and he brings understanding how energy access can transform health outcomes, particularly for women and children. Great. How is everyone doing? You okay? Like I said, there'll be a quick fire round at the end, so. A what? I can't hear you. Okay, so now we are ready to. I'm told there's somebody else we need to make room for up here. I don't know if a chair maybe could be brought. Is it possible to bring a chair and a microphone up here? Okay, so Elishiba, you can start approaching as a microphone is coming up, and a chair. Are you in the room? Yes. Oh, I'm so glad there's so many women here. How fantastic is that? How fantastic is that? Yes. So we can start as they set up for Elishiba, and I want to start with Aliyah. So you work across East Africa. You've seen it all. You've seen the challenges the countries are facing with inclusivity. You've seen the opportunities that exist. What would you say is the biggest barrier to ensuring this inclusivity? What is it that's missing?
So thank you, Zainab. Can you hear me?
Can everyone hear her?
You can?
Yes.
Great. So thank you, Zainab. Can I introduce myself?
No, just proceed.
Just proceed. Okay. Yeah. So I think for me, the biggest barrier that I've seen in inclusivity, I think it's culture and society. I think it's deeply rooted in how women are viewed in society from the patriarchal, like in Africa, how women, like with the gender roles and things like that. So I feel that culture and society plays a big role in the barriers of inclusivity, because women sometimes have inflexible working hours. They have to take care of their children, they have to do so much, and they don't have the time to make space for those opportunities. Or rather, when the opportunities come by, they're maybe not at the door waiting for them.
Yeah.
And also, I think also infrastructure and capital, because I feel most of our society, or rather how the countries are, is that women don't have access to these things. Or rather, most of the things are set up for, like, with not women in mind. What do women want?
Because you have to go home, raise the children.
So you're not put at the forefront, like, okay, you as a woman, what do you want? And there's a study I did with UNEP on immobility as a driver of change for women, and we found out that most women are not called in the room to actually give their inputs on how they want finances to be decimated, or how they want maybe a design of a certain immobility or infrastructure being taken into consideration and things like that. So I think those are the...
So blame it on the patriarchy.
Sorry for the men in the room, but yes.
Okay, so Elishiba just joined us. Elishiba Msengeti, who's Principal Officer for Programs at KenGen Foundation, and she has first-hand experience in community-level energy access programs. Community level. So Elishiba, just want you to pick up from where Aliyah has left off. Culture, the role of culture in inclusivity. Culture as a barrier to inclusivity. And since you work at community level, how do you see this playing out?
Yeah, thank you, Zainab. Following on what Aliyah has said, I think culture plays a big role. And sometimes it's even unconscious, in the sense that from a very young age, people are socialized to believe that there are men roles and female roles. And so it starts showing up even as early as the subjects that students take in school, because for you to make it into the energy sector or to a particular career, there are specific subjects that you need to take. So it starts from a very young age, because then you don't even take the subject, so you don't qualify, so you don't make it to the training institute. So already the number becomes smaller and smaller for women in particular. But I would say it's not only affecting women, because when we talk about gender, it's men and women. And so there's also the aspect of, and this is again in Kenya, culturally we have some notions about this area is, or this region of the country is good in this region is good in that, and that plays a role. The other thing that we've seen, especially working in communities, is the importance of role models. And so if you don't have anybody, let's say in your family or in your community, who has gone ahead and successfully managed to make it, whatever make it means, then again that becomes an inhibitor, because you can only go as far as as what you know. And so one of the things that we do in KenGen, for example, is we offer scholarships, because again education can be an equalizer. Okay, so education gives people an equal platform or playground to even gain access into some of those spaces, and you have to accompany the scholarship with mentorship. So I can give you a scholarship and send you off to school, but because of other psychosocial issues that surround you, and this is for both high school and university, then you find that the person might not succeed or thrive to their best potential. Okay. So those are just some of the examples.
Okay, so James, you work with entrepreneurs across the region, and young people are very big in this space, particularly innovations and stuff like that. But the way society is often structured, particularly the African society, children, if they're younger than you, they're children, and therefore are not necessarily taken seriously. Because in your head, you're like, sasa mtoto unaniambia nini? And we see this a lot in the farming industry, in farming, where even you as a child, you struggle to transition your parent out of subsistence, because your parent tells you, this is how I've been doing it. You're a child. What is it you know that I don't know? How do you see this playing out from the entrepreneurship perspective?
Thank you. I think what we are trying to say is that yes, it's playing out aloud. From my experience, I'm just trying to give an experience of the awards that I do. We have been doing Women in Energy Awards for the last 10 years. So I think one of the key challenges that comes out is that you are not given a chance to bring out the best of yourself. And you also can't develop stories. You don't document your stories. And another area that we have seen is that even if the young people come with innovations, the proof of concept is never taken to organizations. You still have to undergo the normal tendering procedure. So young people walk around with their rucksacks, with their innovations, and they have nowhere to take those innovations. Because if they have to... Is it
that they don't know where to take it, or that nobody takes them seriously?
I think they are not given a chance. In other countries, if you have an innovation, there is a fund that ensures that, for example, if you want to do work in Kenya Power, and you are, let me talk about metering, because I'm in metering also. There are a lot of young people who have come with new monitoring equipment, but there is nowhere to test that equipment. But in other countries, there is a fund for you to test that equipment. When they test that equipment, now they come as a business delegation to sell in Kenya. But the young people have nowhere to go test those equipment. They have to do a tendering process, of which now they are all eliminated in that process. And when we look also in another area that I'm seeing is that I think the young people have been taught that if you develop something, you fear talking about it because someone might steal it. And normally when I go to conferences...
People do steal. You go pitch it, you're told, okay, we'll call you back.
Yes.
And then they don't, and next thing you know, they are implementing your idea.
But unless, I teach them, unless there's something to steal from you, then you have no wealth. Yeah? There must be something to steal. If I cannot steal anything from you, then there is nothing you are.
So you just have to take the risk.
You just have to take the risk. There was a time I used to keep goats, so many goats. But when I was told they are being stolen, I stopped keeping. Now I have no goats. There's nothing to steal. I have no money. So you must have something people can steal from.
Yeah.
So that's what we try to teach them. Yeah, go out and sell your thing, and but let especially government institution open up for this proof of concepts. That's where you find all these delegations that come to the country, and I mean every month a delegation coming and all that. The proof of concept has been done in their countries. So you find they're very young people coming to this country to sell, and we just become the agents, not even the manufacturers of those products. Yeah.
Okay, so Engineer Mumbua, you're an engineer, you're a woman, you're in the energy industry.
Yes.
And a lot of things that women will suffer is that people look at you, particularly if you're young, and they're like, yeah, she probably just got that job because she's a woman, not because she actually knows what she's doing or that she's better at it than me. Do you ever get that? Does that ever happen to you?
A lot actually does happen to women in the STEM industry. And I would say that most of the times is that as women, we choose to even accept such narrative and we pull back. And sometimes it is also, women have imposter syndrome. So culminating that plus imposter syndrome, it makes women pull back and it not go out there and take up their spaces like they ought to. So yes, it does happen. Yes.
And is it by design or by accident that there's so many women engineers working at KenGen?
I think there's one special thing that happened back in 2016. Around November, we had an inauguration of Pink Energy. And Pink Energy is a forum that has helped transition women, pull women up, empower them, and create a conducive environment for them to be able to work in KenGen. And so having Pink Energy as a forum that is properly squarely looking at the activities that our women are into, creating an environment that is conducive for them, that has really pushed KenGen so much. Back then, we had around 16% of women in KenGen. Right now, in KenGen, but right now we have around 24%, which has really pushed us a lot in terms of having women in KenGen working here and feeling that you're in an environment that is really accepting you and very conducive for you to be able to put out your ideas there, but also grow as a woman engineer.
Okay.
Thank you.
Gitaiga, from the healthcare perspective, you suffer a lot of challenges. When there's challenges in the grid, you're affected. When the grid is not stable, you're affected. Are you seeing any solutions that maybe young people are coming up with, women are coming up with that could solve your problems?
So if you talk about grid power in the urban areas, I think for that part, most of the urban facilities are well covered. But when you talk about the rural areas, that's when you start encountering the small mini grids, and whereby you have people who are willing to take small innovations to the facilities to help them keep running. And most of the time you'll find that these are some small social groupings whereby they come together and decide this is what we are going to do and this is how we are going to help the facility, by extent helping the community, enable them with, can I say, consistent and reliable power.
Okay. Now I'd like to go to the end to Elishiba. Still talking on the communities that you work with. How can we adapt these energy solutions for people living with disabilities? Because there's always that concern that this world is not built for people with disabilities. And even if you come into an interview room or you're walking into a room and you're not an able-bodied person, already you've been disqualified even before you say a word. So how can we adapt these technologies in the energy industry, the jobs in the energy industry, to also suit these people with disabilities?
Yeah, that's a good question, Zainab, and I think I will link it to mainstreaming. You know, the way we've done over time, gender mainstreaming, so that it's not something you add at the end of a policy making process or program development process, I would say we need to do the same for people with disabilities in the sense that it needs to be mainstreamed such that whatever innovation you're coming up with, whatever policies are being made, whatever programs are being developed, at the point, at the inception, when they're being developed, we need to ask, how will these programs or projects or innovations affect men, women, children, and people with disabilities? So I'll give you an example. Even I don't know if we have a ramp to come to this stage.
Yes,
Do we?
there's one at the end here.
That's very good. Those are the small things that sometimes people overlook because people think about it later as a afterthought. Okay. The other thing is, again, when you say, jobs, for example, policies exist for that. We have quotas. You have to create quotas for that. And Kenya has beautiful policies, beautiful laws, but the challenge is implementation. So again, that comes back to how are these laws enforced? How are we ensuring that if the Constitution says X% needs to be this certain group of people, that it's being enforced? Because when you don't have a quota in terms of, like an affirmative action, then people will always be left out. Lastly, again, I had a chance one time to work with children actually with disabilities, and it is even to the littlest thing, like when you make labs, okay, and you have the table where people are doing the experiments. It needs to be a height that is accessible to somebody on a wheelchair. So small things like that are not small at all, but that even in the design of our institutions should reflect that. Because then, again, I go back to, for somebody to access the energy sector, they need to have the capacity for it, so they need to have been trained, educated, and so that it starts from the very onset. If you have a gas cooker or an improved stove, can somebody who is visually impaired, can they be able to handle it safely, okay? I look at elevators, for example. There's a reason why elevators talk. There's a reason why they say 3rd floor, 4th floor. It's because so that somebody who cannot see is able to do that. And elevators should also have the braille. So those are the things that, if we're talking of innovation, from the inception, you have to mainstream disability, and then as well as all the other special groups.
Okay. Alia, coming back to you, what would it take if we were to say in the next 5 years we want more women in the energy industry, we want more young people in the energy industry? What would it take for us to realize that?
I think what it would take is like a massive disruption of the current. I'm a proud Gen Z, so I think it's just massive disruption on what is the status quo currently. So what we see right now is, like Elishiba has said, like policies are there. They're so beautiful, indented, times Roman 12, those people who write policies are here. They know what I'm talking about. And there's no implementation. Like, for example, the 2/3 gender rule in parliament. Yes, it's there, but it's like these people, these women who are shouting, let's just give them what they want and then move on with other things that we like. So I think we need to make more noise, and those who are in positions of power, I am, like, everyone should like do what they can with their circle of influence. Like for me, in my position at the moment, what am I doing to help my fellow youth? I try my best to help those around me who ask me for mentorship, who ask me for opportunities, like through our WTS Foundation. I try my best and put them there. But then I believe that large organizations such as KenGen, I know with Pink Energy and what they're doing with YGen, I think there's a youth, they should do more. So I think people in power are comfortable. And when something doesn't bother you, you don't care about it. Like if you're, for example, like for the disability, because you can walk, you don't see the need of a ramp.
Yeah.
But if you could not walk, you know why you would need that ramp. So I think, or rather I believe they should be just a rapid disruption. I don't know how that's going to be, because at the moment, there are people benefiting from the status quo currently, and are they willing to be uncomfortable to allow the youth and the women to be included? That's the question.
Okay, speaking on the
we
same,
can
James,
answer.
speaking along the same lines, James, with your experience, what would you say today is the greatest innovation from young people or women that you have seen that corporates have not noticed yet?
Innovations. I think there is one big innovation that I saw in one of the winners of our award program. I just want to give an innovation. She developed a box that a renewable energy box, uses solar, can store medicine, and it's used mainly for mothers, I think, to store the vaccines. And I think she won the award in 2019 in the presence of a UNFPA director who was my guest. And from there on, I think she's selling that box across Africa. I think there are a lot of innovations that are around. But sometimes you wait until you are good enough, and you'll never be good enough. Yeah, it's always a process of trying and being able to come out.
You start where you are.
You start where you are. Share information with the right people. Be there in the right people. If there are awards, because we are very privileged that we have sat with more than we have 100 winners across. This year we are celebrating 10 years of seeing women around the energy space. And I can tell you, some of them applied 3-4 times. But you see what the award has done for them just by coming out and speaking about it. It's a very warm idea. And I believe that should go on, yes.
Okay. Geoffrey, from the healthcare industry, do you know of that innovation?
It's one of the examples. I didn't want to go to details, but I know one of the major examples is use of solar to make sure that in the remote areas, supply chain, it's called cold chain, is maintained properly. And for more permanent fixtures, we talk about the community being able to enable their local facilities get that reliable energy. But first, solar, green energy, and then once the facility gets a bit bigger, that's when you start seeing other technologies coming in. But they always kick off with the solar energy.
So as you seek to adopt these technologies in the healthcare profession, what percentage of young people would you say you work with?
Percentage in terms of solar energy?
The people you're getting these technologies from?
We have not yet adopted from anybody any technologies, but the biggest, can I say, innovators that are coming to us in healthcare are coming to give us technology to help us manage our facilities. We are talking about, because every now facility needs to maintain their ESG goals. We are not treating people and at the same time making their situation worse. So we are able to monitor how efficiently we are managing our power, how efficiently we are managing our resources, and these are the things that are coming to us with in terms of technology. In terms of power, clean, raw power, we are starting to see those pay-as-you-go models just for running small, not so power-hungry devices that need to be on always, such that we can be able to collaborate with them. But yeah, so we've not adapted to a lot of these new technologies because I can say, first of all, as a level 5 facility, we have more or less did the upfront investment, but we're always looking for these people who giving us innovative solution that make sure that our investment does not go to CapEx, goes to OpEx, and that way we are left with a lot of cash in our hands to be able to serve or give more services in our facilities.
Okay. Engineer Mumbua, you know, engineering as a STEM subject is often seen as a weakness for girls. Even when you look at the exams, when the government reads out the national exam results, girls don't tend to do very well in these STEM subjects. And some of those who actually make it, they either fall off along the way or they end up going abroad, brain drain. So looking back, if you were to talk to maybe 10-year-old you today, what would you tell her?
One thing I would tell my 10-year-old self is that do it afraid. Do not be scared, because you're equally able to perform, to excel. And speaking to this, I am a former board chair of a high school. And one of the things that I did there was to encourage the girls to take STEM-related subjects, because it sets you apart. It gives you some challenges that encourage you by the fact that you can be able to overcome yourself and the fears that you have. So for me, I would tell my 10-year-old self, do it afraid. You can do it, you can make it, you can be the best version of yourself, and keep a sharp focus on what you're doing. Because most of the times, when you listen to the naysayers, people who tell a young girl that these are men-related subjects, or when you're a mother bringing up a son and a daughter, and starting the differentiation right from that level, you're already, your baby girl wants a toy car, but you're pushing your baby girl to accept a doll. We're already creating a perception in that particular space. And so we need to start from that level, where we are trying to encourage our children to look forward to being able to challenge themselves by taking these STEM-related subjects and push them so that they can be the best version of themselves. Thank you.
So now I'd like to open the floor to questions. We'll take about 3 questions. Anyone question? Okay, there's one question back there. Second question, that's question 1. Question 2? I am so glad to see some women hands coming out. Okay, there's a gentleman here, question 2, and I've seen a lady there, question 3. You've seen yourselves? 3 questions. Okay, proceed.
Okay, thank you, Zainab. I'm Rono Masi, an electrical engineer at KenGen, and also the Young Generation Chairperson in Geothermal. So I have a question. We talk about visibility, but let me speak on behalf of a young village girl, maybe in Turkana, for example. Like, how are we going to get these people in these spaces, considering, I can imagine this conversation is in this space, that person cannot even access a television, for example. So, like, how are we going to, like, as a people, even all of us in this forum, like, how are we going to get into the grassroots level and really get them to actually be, like, in a space where they have access to all these opportunities? Thank you. So it's an open question to just anyone.
Okay, next question is here. There's a gentleman here. There was a gentleman here.
My name is Patrick Ekuju, and safety manager in KenGen. I would want to first comment that disability is in different forms, and we need to appreciate that there is permanent disability and temporary disability. So as we invest in our businesses, we have to invest for what we know is temporary and do temporary measures. But also, there is what is inborn disability, and there is acquired. For example, a lady may join our organization very healthy and able to climb the towers. But halfway the year, she becomes expectant. The conditions have changed, and that has introduced a temporary disability that we have to deal with, even as we design. Now, my concern is, as we advocate, how much of addressing the challenges are we dealing with the regulatory issues and ensuring that even as we train from the school levels, that we are not repeating the same narrative that STEM is difficult. Because when I listen to the discussion, we are reaffirming or reinforcing the very negative notion that STEM is difficult. And I think it's because of joblessness that we feel STEM is superior to the arts, not that STEM is superior to any other field. And that narrative needs to be clarified so that we give honor to other fields.
Okay, last question. There's a lady here.
Thank you very much. My name is Judith Naiga, engineer actually, I'm an engineer. I work with the Electricity Authority as a Director Technical Regulation. The topic under discussion is very, very important, but as I scan through the room, I observe that our clients, the people we are discussing, are either missing or they are very few. So for us to have such a conversation when the very beneficiaries are not here, and we are talking about mentorship, and the mentors are all in this room. So I think it has to be a concerted effort to make sure that we involve these people from secondary schools, universities, to participate in such, so that we can get to hear their voices and the areas where they can benefit mostly from us. We have something that we do as a regulator in Uganda. We call it Women in Energy. We move to secondary schools every once in a year. That is in the month of March, which is called the Women Month. And we encourage the girls to embrace STEM subjects. And the impact that we have made has really been significant. But as we have been moving out to encourage the girls themselves have been saying, how about our brothers? You are empowering us, but you are leaving our brothers outside. You are leaving them in the classroom. Who is going to marry us, you know? Okay. Everybody needs to be empowered. So as we aggressively look out to empower the women, let's not forget the boy child. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'd like, maybe you could start with Mercy's question.
Yes. So I get where you're coming from, Mercy. I'm also a young engineer, so I do understand, but I'm privileged. Let me say I studied abroad, so I cannot necessarily relate to the woman in Turkana, but I believe that how to get that lady engineer in Turkana to come to such events is on us who are on this side. Why I say this is because to whom much is given, much is expected. So for me as Alia, having like the privilege that I have, having the networks, being in the rooms that I've been able to access, it's my duty to be able to open that up. Like, for example, if I was the one running this forum, or like KenGen, for example, maybe have a section like at YGen, maybe you guys could invite the women here, or work with the county governments, or work with the government, or do something that you can do to bring the women here, as KenGen or as YGen, for example. So I think it's like a collective responsibility, because the woman, like you said, doesn't have a television, doesn't have access, so it's us to actually open up her eyes. But you see, if I'm happy and comfortable where I am, I can't do that. And like most times people are selfish. So if you're happy and you're enjoying your cocktail by Lake Naivasha, you'll not really think, I have a duty or responsibility to the lady in Naivasha. So I think that it's upon us, like with everyone's circle of influence, we are all different in different levels, different experiences. So what can you do as yourself? Me as Alia, James as James, Elishiba as Elishiba, yes. Engineer as engineer, and the guy, yeah. So what can we do to actually actualize that? And also, from what I just want to respond to engineer, I have a twin brother, so it's just me and my twin brother at home. So I understand the whole empowering women and then empowering men. So, and my parents have sort of, kudos to them, I know they're watching, hi. I understand the whole empowering women, empowering men. Like women, empower women, this for women. And then you find men, like actually I realized, or rather I read a study recently, like the highest suicidal rates in the world actually from men.
Men, yes.
So what are we doing there? So I do believe that, yes, we do have a Women in Energy forum. And is there a men version of Pink Energy? There is?
Yes.
Are they active? I know Mustafa was telling me about it. He's somewhere in the room. It's active.
It's called Blue Energy. Yes.
And do they get the same privileges as Pink Energy?
Well, I think they can do more. I think they can do more. And I think that's one of the challenge of maybe affirmative action is that the women were so empowered and the men feel like they're already empowered, which is not necessarily the case. They can do more, but I think the budgets are there, the support is there, the structures are there, the officials are there.
Okay,
yes,
that's good. So
Okay.
I guess they're in good hands. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
James, would you like to respond to the gentleman here in the middle?
Okay. That discussion, I think I've forgotten the question, but I think I relate to what she's saying from my experience. We run a company that does a lot of work in water and energy, and we do a lot of work in the remote areas. So I think, and there's a program we run called the FGM to STEM, where we want to take STEM into those very remote areas. And we want to use the facilities that we take there, like water and electricity. There is this program called COSAP, Kenya Off-Grid, and we'll be very happy to see a component of empowerment going, because that project is taking power to the most remote places in this country. So something can be done, and kids don't do sciences because of teachers. Yeah, and there's a program that I think is coming up that really want how do teachers communicate science subjects, so that we have a big uptake of people doing sciences. Yes, there is an issue about other subjects, but I don't think it's an issue of comparing. It's an issue of comparing. This country needs to industrialize, and science is key, and we are very much behind in that area of industrialization. And I think science is as a quick ROI return on you invest in science. There's a quick return on investment, and the kids can come back and work in that area. For example, when we talk to some Maasais about the kids schooling, and I think some of them went to do sciences, and I think they came back with new breeds of grass. I think they were studying in Useku, in Ukambani, came with new breed of grass that they can plant, and they got new genetics for the goats. You see, they try to help. And the thing with girls, when they study some of these subjects, they try to solve the problem that they found at home.
Yeah.
That's why you find a lot of girls doing medicine, a lot of girls doing law, so that they can sort out issues around their community. So I think we are still very far away to compare science and other subjects.
Okay, so I want to start at the end and come this way as we wind down this conversation. I'd like to start with you, Elishiba. What do you want us to remember from this conversation?
I would want us to remember that inclusivity should not be an afterthought, and that it begins with us, but also it is the responsibility of institutions, of government, of regulatory authorities, and that the proof of the pudding is in the implementation, not the colorful laws, and it has to be something that we ourselves think about all the time. Somebody has raised the issue of who is represented in this room, and of course I wouldn't fault the organizers, because this was probably a very niche conference, but again, maybe it's an opportunity for us to always think about who else needs to be in the room, or how do we take the room to the person. So inclusivity should not be an afterthought.
Okay. Geoffrey?
Let me do a small spin. In healthcare, when you talk about renewable energy, and especially when it comes to women and youth, we talk about how they're using traditional sources of energy, that is firewood and everything else they can find. Because they're, like, for especially women, their direct objective is to make sure there is a cooked meal in the house. I think there should be an awareness session for them on how they can do value add on these kind of traditional sources. And what you'll start seeing in terms of healthcare is a lower risk of pulmonary diseases, a lower risk of other types of diseases, because they're now not inhaling directly the flames from the different plants they get from wherever they got them from. So with this, you're already starting the conversation of biomass energy. And if one or two people start doing it, you're talking about this is a community that has the potential of going to scale with this. And now what you're talking about is, can they now be enabled to produce electricity to stop now cooking even with the briquettes and start cooking with electricity? There's a lot of innovations that has been done around electric cooking. And what is the domino effect of this? They are spending less time fetching and searching for firewood. They're spending less time making sure that the stove is always on so that they can boil whatever needs to be boiled, then later on come and cook whatever needs to be cooked. That means now they have time to get into the community engagements. Now they have time to actually, or energy to actually go to conferences like these ones and start engaging and learning. We've heard from the MCA, we have a lot of English, but she does not understand how this is translating to the youth. And something I was studying that happened in Tanzania and Rwanda, whereby the youth empowerment through renewable biomass, that is garbage collection, garbage sorting, and biomass energy production, led to around 60% income increase.
Okay.
So this is, you're talking about somebody who's used to earning 3,000 bob a month, being enabled to earning almost 20 and going on. And this also helps light industries come up and be able to elevate the society as a whole. So in healthcare, we talk about sustainable energy being something that, number one, we need healthy people working.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Mumbwa, very quickly.
Thank you, Zainab. I would say that, first of all, Zainab, 30% globally, we have women in STEM, 30%. Coming down to Algeria, we have around 48.5%. Coming down to Kenya, we have around 20%. So that speaks to, we have a lot of work in as far as women in STEM are concerned. So matters mentorship, capacity building. It's very critical that we look at even role modeling, how we are talking to the students, presenting ourselves to them, showing them the way, because we are already here. And I appreciate the fact that someone is recognizing that we need to capacity build all the time, because we are not yet there as a world, as a country, and even as Kenyan, as different organizations. We have a lot of work that needs to be done for us to have proper representation, but also build on innovative ideas that we could be having, but we have shelved them because we're not looking at how do we bring them up.
Okay.
Thank you.
James, 30 seconds.
I think the most important thing is that having diversity and inclusivity is an economic decision. And that's why we have in challenges of demand for power. There is a whole population that is not in the value chain, and most of them are women. Yeah, so to me, having them more empowered, it's an economic decision. And I think this is what brings us in even all the events we do. It's economy. It's how do we empower them to be able to create demand of everything that is in the market. Yeah, so I think even the rural, where we have the productive use of energy.
Okay.
If there is no gender lens in it, it's not going to succeed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Alia, 30 seconds.
Yeah, I think for me, the two words is intentionality and consideration. Intentionality meaning like the policies, are they being implemented? Is someone being intentional enough to actually see these things come to light and come to pass? And also consideration, yes, you're doing well, you're living well, but what about your next door neighbor? What about the community that you're living in? Are you doing something that is benefiting everyone else's life, or are you just doing something to benefit you?
Okay.
So I'll just finish with a quote. So Drew Forst says that we educate women not only because it is smart, but we educate women because it changes the world. So if educating a woman, I'm not saying men should not be educated, but I believe that if we educate the women in our country and in the world, then we actually change the world.
Okay, so the very last thing you're going to do is the quick fire round. 10 seconds. You answer in 10 seconds, and you say the first thing that comes to your mind. Don't think too hard about it, okay? Don't think too hard about it. So I'm going to start with you, Alia. One thing that women bring to boardrooms that men don't.
Audacity. Oh no, men bring audacity, sorry. Courage. Sorry. Courage.
So men bring audacity, women
all
bring
the time.
courage.
Women bring courage, yes. From my experience.
Okay, Engineer Mumbua, your turn. One tool that every woman engineer must have. One tool.
Boldness.
Boldness.
Yes, I would just say boldness. Being courageous to do things and believe that you can actually do them. Yes.
So not an actual, like a physical tool, like you must have a pliers.
No, really, it's all in the mind.
Okay.
Boldness.
Okay. James, one stereotype about energy customers that you'd like to kill today?
They need to pay for bills.
Don't they?
You find a guy driving a Mercedes part. Kulipa 10,000 ile mutapigana. That's
They do pay their bills.
yeah,
no?
they need to. But the fight will bring and you go down and see what he's driving and what he was complaining about. They don't match.
Audacity. That's the audacity she's talking about. Okay, Elishuba, your question. One rural innovation you'd love to see go global today?
Ooh, probably what we saw today here, the biomass, the waste to energy. I think that is probably the next frontier, and we have a lot of waste, and so if we could turn that into energy, I think that would be one of the next frontiers.
Okay, Gitagia, one medical device that is used every day that you wish ran on solar.
I would probably say radiology equipment, imaging equipment.
Imaging equipment.
Yes.
Okay. Are they possible to be customized for solar?
I believe there have been some recent advances on making sure that they can run on as little power as possible so that they can be mobile in the deployment. But in terms of running in solar, I don't think we have yet gone to that stage. But they do run, some of them run on lithium batteries, a bit heavy because of the requirements from the power draw from the equipment. But yes, advances are coming in, and imaging just helps practitioners understand where exactly the problem is with them.
So a challenge to the engineers to make it run renewable energy.
Yes.
Great. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining this conversation. I'd now like you to take a step forward for a photo. The photographer will be coming. And as the photographer comes, I'd just like to remind all of us that we have meeting rooms somewhere down there. There are tents down there. If you ask any of the security people or any of the Nation Media team, they'll be able to guide you to the meeting room. So if you've met someone here that you'd like to continue a conversation with, please utilize the meeting rooms down there. And also remember to walk around the booths, see the kind of innovations on display, see who else you can meet. Please take a step forward.
Let's appreciate the panel and the moderator who have taken us through the past 40 or so minutes of a very insightful discussion. We really appreciate you, Zainab Bondati, and all the panelists who were on this particular panel. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now to one of the most exciting sessions of day 2 of this conference. We are about to get to a masterclass. But before that, Zainab has already mentioned about the meeting rooms. Yes, if you want to strike a deal, you want to discuss something important, instead of just doing it anywhere under the scorching sun, we have meeting rooms set for you in a special design where you'll be comfortable, all right? So let's embrace this. Secondly, the masterclass again. Let me have the slides for the masterclass. It is important to register. Please scan the QR code. The reason for this registration is so that in case there are any further communications to be made, learning materials and everything else, they will be sent to you, to your email addresses that you're leaving in that registration. That is the reason for registering. And lastly, another registration. We are having a site tour of the geothermal plant. That is immediately after the masterclass and after lunch. For that too, we need to register. Now, here's the thing. A QR code will also, that QR code is for the masterclass. Let's do this because I want to introduce a different QR code. That is for the masterclass. Let's do this. Meanwhile, Sam wants to take you back to school because we are just about to start a master class. Sam, we are good to go back to school in a minute? All right, I'll be calling you. That is for the master class. Let's have the other QR code for the tour, the site tour. Now, we have a capacity for 100 people. I'm told 53 have already registered. So we need 47 to register if you want to come for that particular tour. So this depends on how fast you are. If you clock 100, imefunga. Where is that one? There you go. I'm sure I'll be told it has clocked 100 in a minute or so. All right, if you want to be part of that tour, we have 47 slots open. I believe right now we are reducing the slots. So this particular masterclass is about, or is powered by Rentco Africa. Rentco Africa does not give money, but they can turn your concept into a reality by assessing how bankable that concept is. And they do that through leasing. They have worked with various sector players. They will mention about this. But before we do that, because this is a class, it will be done in a class where, remember, you back in the lecture rooms in uni or in high school, in the classrooms. You remember your most favorite teacher and how they used to do their classes. That's how we're going to do this. And that's why Sam is coming here to just take us back to school, even as the team from Rentco prepares to be introduced. In fact, as Sam comes, let me invite the team from Rentco, Robert K. Nyasimi, the Group CEO and founder, Rentco Africa, Mr. Julius Motoraki, Group Chief Operations Officer and Country Head, Rentco, and Engineer Moses Rotich, Geothermal Engineer and Energy Project Specialist, Rentco Africa. Whatever Sam teaches us to do, you will do it from the stage while standing. Gentlemen, naomba msimame pia. Sam, back to school.
Awesome. Hi, guys. So before I ask you guys to stand, just turn to the person next to you and ask and tell them one thing you remember from school, whether it was primary school, high school, university, whatever. Just 30 seconds before I take you guys back to those old days. Na kwa wale pia walilala class, you can say that. Awesome. Has your neighbor told you? Don't worry, I will not ask you to say it publicly, but I'd like you to stand up for just 1 minute. And so I want us to try and do something. As I had said earlier, I've done dance and choreography for 17 years, among other things. And so one of the things we'll definitely do is stretch with a bit of dancing. But before that, I want to stretch with something that you guys have probably never done with before. I want us to stretch with math. I want us to stretch with math. Sawa sawa. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to put your hand up like this. Now, if you're feeling really daring, you can put both hands like this. So that is one. Sawa sawa. That is awesome. And then I want you to do like this, both hands. That is plus. That is what? And then I want you to do this. That is equal. Let's do a test run. 1 plus 1. You guys are nice. Equal. Now, 2 is where it's going to get a bit tricky. I want you to do this. So that's going to be 2. Okay. Again, we've just taken T, I hope, on nothing else. So 2. So that is 2. Okay? Now, 4, you're going to do this. So what is 2? What is 4? And then 8, you're going to do this. Sawa sawa. So let's give it a test run. 1 plus 1 equal 2. Awesome. 2 plus 2 equal 4. Hapo sasa ndio watu wameanza kusahau. Haya, 4 plus 4 equal 8. Good job. Clap for yourself. Now I want us to try and do dance with something that you guys probably remember. Sasawa. I will not cue you. You'll just listen to the music and follow me. Sasawa. Again, it's something you never thought you'd ever do in your life. When you're ready, let's do this. Do you guys remember that? Awesome. So you're going to do something very simple. So just go here. Now, I want you to side and shake it. Side and shake it. Good. Uh-huh. Let's remember this one. Hapotu. And then you can move to the side. The other side. Now one more thing. Let's go like this now. Just step. And then put your hand like this. And change. Let's go. Good job. Clap for the person next to you. Tell them good job, well done. Thank you so much. Karibu sana.
Thank you very much, Sam. You always lighten up this room in ways that only you can. Asante sana. Now, like I said, this is a masterclass about unlocking financing for the energy sector from concept to bankability. In this masterclass, we will not be seated as the other panels were, because this is a class, this is not a panel discussion. So occasionally, you will see my panelists stand, walk through the room, engage you. You can always lift your hand at any particular time. There is no designated question time. If a point has been made and you want clarification there and then, you can always lift your hand, because the objective is to learn. And I want to introduce one more time the gentlemen that I have here, so they take us through, so that they take us through the session and tell us, first of all, what RENCO is. So Robert Nyasimi, please. Robert Nyasimi is a group CEO and founder of RENCO Africa. Mr. Julius Motoraki, my father's right, is a group chief operations officer and country head Kenya for RENCO. And to discuss the technical issues is Engineer Moses Rotich. Engineer is a geothermal engineer and energy projects specialist at RENCO Africa. I will start with you, Robert, as the CEO. What is RENCO Africa? If you want to stand and move, in fact, I think that is what we should be doing. Let's have a walk.
Yeah. Thank you.
I want you to tell me, the chairperson of the KPLC board is seated here.
Yes.
Perhaps getting to learn what RENCO Africa is for the very first time.
Yeah.
Tell me, what is RENCO Africa and what do you do?
Okay. Thank you so much. As I said yesterday, RENCO Africa is an independent leasing company. So being independent gives us the ability to lease any type of asset that either a public entity or a private entity would lease. As I indicated yesterday, leasing solves a CapEx problem, especially in the public sector. But in the private sector, leasing solves when a mature company has reached a point where it's defining their business objective. So there you get a company that says, now we want to concentrate on our core business. So anything that is not our core business, would like someone to run that for us. So based on those two parameters, we are able to give a concept about leasing. So you've just conceptualized like KPLC, for example. You know, there's this talk in town about EV charging. You've seen them. Everybody is trying to put a charger everywhere. But as RENCO, we normally look at any organization and ask ourselves, who is best placed to deliver that solution? So if, say, Robert Nyasimi or this gentleman here decides he wants to put an EV charger, he goes to a Total petrol station, negotiates maybe at the group level. Most likely, they'll say, okay, fine, you come and put, but they'll want revenue share. However, if Kenya KPLC shows up, even in your estate, wherever, even in your shopping mall, and they put a charger, there will be no discussion about revenue share. So I've always advocated, and when I talk to my friends in Treasury, because there's a push by the president, let's go green, let's have electric cars. I've always insisted that the best placed entity to deploy charging stations across the country is KPLC. Now, then you come to KPLC. These chargers cost money. And it could, maybe a charger, I've seen some quotations like 20 million, sometimes depending on how much power needs to be on that particular charger. So 20 million doesn't look a lot of money to KPLC. However, but when you multiply maybe 1,000, 2,000 that needs to be deployed, then the CapEx issue comes in. You understand? Then I'm very easy now to just suggest to KPLC, don't worry, we'll arrange this funding, whether it's 20 billion, 30 billion, whatever the CapEx will be, and a leasing framework. You get?
Yes.
So I lease to KPLC.
All right.
They come and place it wherever they place. And then, you see, I will not be eating into their reserves. I'll tell them, this charger, once it's placed, because leasing, you pay when you're generating. It's not a debt. So it's placed there. Whoever comes to charge will make payment for it. So you'll be, whatever you generate is now what you pay the lease rental with.
All right.
Yeah.
Before you proceed, I want to simplify this and ask perhaps beyond this particular context of renewable energy.
Yeah.
Because we have viewers watching us live on NTV at home.
Correct.
Here sit industry experts so they would understand every technical bit that you give. So Nation Media Group is a news organization. It wants to operate, has staff, wants to run in like any other news organization. But we do not have space. I've gone beyond the energy sector. We do not have space. We want to set up an office. We do not have Nation Center. Are you saying then that if the organization is in place, we would come to Rentco and say, please lease to us an operating space and we'll find it ready? Just to try and simplify for our viewers at home before we come back here for the context of the experts in here.
Yeah, thank you so much that you bring up Nation. When it comes to consider the question you've talked about, it has two bits. There's leasing of the space, which is owned by the landlord. So we let you lease that from the landlord. But now when it comes to fitting out that office, I'll be able to convince you that instead of, you've rented a space, don't put CapEx there. Put an OpEx, yeah, by way of leasing. So you do your BQ, this is how you want your office layout to do with whoever contractor you want, then you give us that BQ. And based on that BQ, we turn into a lease program. So we'll pay your contractor in full, he fits out your office, and then we charge you on a monthly basis. Now, going further, now that you're Nation, you'll be surprised there's also, and that's how we identify opportunities. You see, we had looked at the government printer, and we wanted to modernize it through leasing. Then it occurred to me that you guys, your printing press is only busy like either between 4 to 7 hours. So it means for another 15 hours, that printer is idle. So there's ongoing discussions with your management. I'm telling them, look, instead of all this money that the government printer will need to modernize, why don't you approach government and enter into an arrangement with them, print title deeds for them, print passports, all those kind of things when you have idle time. You understand? Now to do that, you needed a finisher. So I say, you need this finisher that you need to now even print books, which we still import, if you don't know. We still import a lot of exercise books. But in your printing press, if you put a finisher, and at least you're able to generate. So that's how we always make leasing work for private sector like yourself.
All right, so when you say asset leasing in this particular sector, renewable energy, and the energy sector, what assets are we talking about? It's clear you're not lending out money.
Yes, we give you an asset.
What are these assets? I'm asking as a layman.
Remember, I mentioned that we are an independent leasing company, meaning we can lease any type of energy equipment, whether it's solar, wind, geothermal, like what we are doing right now. There's another one that new technology is called KPP, kinetic. Any type of equipment that generates energy can be leased. Yeah.
All right. I'll request you to sit, then perhaps bring Motoraki and ask, sir, these people seated here, these industry players seated here would want to know, look, I am a player in the energy sector. I have this concept. Is it bankable? How do you determine bankability?
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Allow me to start by acknowledging that since yesterday, all the speakers and the panelists that have been here, at least they have mentioned the word bankability. So I was just going through my presentation and saying, do I have anything left to really talk to about bankability? So the question is, do you understand the concept of bankability? What does it really mean in one word?
What does bankability mean in one word? Anyone?
It means viable.
Very good. Any other?
Any other person wants to try?
Viability.
Let's try.
One more.
Viability.
Bankability. One word.
It's money making.
Very good.
Perhaps one last person?
Yes,
perhaps one last person.
Okay, one.
Who wants to go? Bankability. Here.
Being sustainable. Being sustainable. I think we have those three words we can work with. Now, the work of a good teacher is to collate and conclude, right? Now, bankability is exactly what they have said. I'll only just add one or two. The measure of how a deal or a project is attractive to an investor equals its bankability. But now you have to distill it a little further. The headline of our presentation or masterclass was unlocking financing, which means the word unlocking denotes that something is locked somewhere, not accessible, right? Now that you need to access it, how do you unlock that door? From the one word you've said plus maybe one more I'll add, then we get to understand that unlocking finance, it's a combination lock. It's not just one thing you'll do for that project and there you access the money in the room. So what are these maybe combination? I can just mention about 4. One has been mentioned here is something to do with the deal clearly indicates healthy cash flows, all right? So that's one thing. You must demonstrate that the deal has positive cash flows and therefore it can pay for the cost invested. Number 2, the deal, the technology in place is tested and proven, all right? So the technology aspect, is it answered? Have you demonstrated? And I'm sure engineer will be demonstrating using a case study how the concept of thinking technology first and all the players in that sector, the EPCs and so on, technology must be unlocked. We've talked about cash flow. So there is the CapEx and there is the cash flow. They must relate. They must inspire confidence to the particular investor you are targeting. Then in between those two, we have now the de-risking elements, like the contracts that you are entering. There'll be so many players that will deliver a turnkey project, energy project like the ones we're talking about. So what instruments are you engaged? The contracts, the PPAs, the lease, are they well thought, well structured, so that all risks have been disbursed to the right people, the right bearers of that risk? And lastly, I said it's a combination lock, so maybe the last one for this particular discussion, I'll say sustainability element into the whole thing. Is this all these de-risking and journey towards bankability going to bring about sustainability? the ESG element. All projects sit somewhere in a community. So you need to understand the impact of that project to the community, the environment, and the society.
All right.
Maybe that's what I
Yeah,
can say.
but before you sit, in this room sit industry players, critical industry players, right? From KenGen, our hosts, we have Kenya Power, we have Kenya Pipeline Company, various other critical industry players who are then asking, what are you telling us? Can you now speak to us? How do we implement this concept we've had and work with RentCo to make sure we achieve? Are there case studies in this particular room? Are there case studies, perhaps without mentioning the particular organizations, just in case your agreements have a non-disclosure agreement clause, but you can tell us about case studies that would apply real life to these industry players seated here?
Thank you very much for that. Yes, to the various companies that are in here, the ones IBEM has mentioned and others, what I'm saying, or what we are saying as RentCo is, we are here to conceptualize the idea, the enterprise, the project that could give you the opportunity to scale up. We conceptualize with you. We get to understand where you are going. We're here to understand how to source that technology and deliver it for your utilization for free until you start using it. Does that sound real? For free. There'll be zero CapEx from budget. It will be our responsibility as RentCo to understand the technology, look at all risks, approach financing partners, input our own residual value, and deploy a turnkey solution or an asset for you to utilize, and then you start paying lease liabilities. This is not theory. As I was asked to tell you a real case, one that is work in progress. Our partners, KenGen, you understand. We're going to deliver 58 megawatt geothermal power plant, and we're not going to ask you for anything upfront. They can testify. We've done this in the tea industry. We have over 5 megawatt of solar PV. None of those clients have spent any money upfront. We bring a whole package, turnkey, O&M, without any upfront cost.
All right, let me bring in Engineer
Allow me
Rotich.
just to
Okay, all right,
add in a
all right,
bit
all right,
there.
Robert.
Yeah, there are many advantages of leasing, very, very many. So what we do is always to identify that one that works for you. Yeah, and it's just good for purposes of the quorum that is here. We've spoken a lot about KenGen, but I just want to confess that we've leased to GDC, we have leased to Kenya Pipeline, we have leased to KRA, Ministry of Lands, the county government of Laikipia. So we've leased to various government entities, including the Kenya National Audit Office. So you'll never have an issue when you say you are leasing. Just to tell you that sometimes the simplest reason a customer can lease can come down to number plates. Yeah? You remember there's a company called Kwal. Kwal was partly owned by government, so any vehicle they bought had to have a blue plate. So if you drive after 5 p.m., you need to have a worksheet. Now they figured out if they lease to vehicles, they'll be private cars, and then they'll have private number plates, then no policeman will disturb them. And that's the only reason they went the leasing route. Of course, the law changed now. Even if you lease, they still have to have blue plates or GK number plates. Yeah, thank you.
Well, let me bring in Engineer Rotich as I allow Robert and Motoraki to sit and ask Engineer. In the sector that you're speaking about, the energy sector, the renewable energy sector, there are technical challenges that will be bottlenecks to achieving successful leasing. Yes, we want to unlock finance. However, I've fallen into this pit that I wasn't supposed to fall into. And that is where your technical expertise come in. What do you look at? And even as engineer explains this, are we making sense? Are we getting you understanding what this class is about?
in case you want to ask or want to contribute about the specific industry, the specific role you play in the value chain, please free to do so. Engineer, what are the technical pitfalls that we risk falling into that would disadvantage us from getting a lease from Renco?
Thank you very much for that question. Actually, you put it rightly on the aspect of the risk on the project, especially on the how we are looking at it in Renco is that this concept of leasing, I know it's a concept in the energy sector. This is the first kind in East Africa or in Africa. It has never been done before, and I think as Renco, we are very proud of this concept. And how does it work? Here, we have a case whereby KenGen actually realized their mandate actually is to drill many other wells for production wells. And then once they have the resource, what they do is that they conceptualize using the data from the wells, be it the functional parameters of that well, flow rate, pressures, enthalpies. Now they notice that they have drilled many wells within the Olkaria region where we are going to visit. And within these wells, they notice that other wells are very far apart and it cannot be connected to a steam gathering system so that you can be able to design and be able to develop a power plant like 140 megawatts or 160 megawatts. So in this case, they noticed that the other wells, like for example, the one which was allocated to Renco, 14 production wells. Now, what they did is that they invited companies or international companies to participate in a tender where you are required, one, you look at the data of that well, you conceptualize that well, and then you come up with the power output of each well. And then in addition to that, you look at the capex of that well, how much would it cost, and then you put a fixed rental fee to that specific well. And then in addition to that, you look at the other conventional parameters of that, the location of the well, how we are going to connect the evacuation system. So they conceptualize, and remember, at that point in time, all those wells already has been capex in the other conventional well. So that cost of capex on the well has been already factored in the other bigger power plant. So what they did, they said, okay, once, for example, when they identified Renco as a company now to offer this service of a lease, they say, okay, Renco, you are going to, we have awarded you the contract. So after that, there are many other aspects now to put up all this, to come up with now with the installing of this well to be a power plant, and then to be operationalized as a lease after now we have reached a commercial operation date. So what we did look at as Renco, we said, okay, we have been allocated these wells. Now we did our own study to find out, we now engage our contractors. First, we said, let us have our owners engineer, whom we will work together as a technical partner. We look at the technology partner, whom we have identified with, that is Toshiba. Toshiba is mitigating the risk of the technology. So Toshiba is number one. When you look at the experience of Toshiba, they are number one actually in terms of it's called geoportable units, small modular units. So they will offer us with the performance guarantee, they will offer us with the warranties of equipment. In addition to that, we look at other wells which are provided by KenGen. It exhibits lower flow rates, lower power output. And what we did, we said, okay, why don't we explore other options of technology? We have other technologies, for example, binary technology. This one you use either a refrigerant, or additionally we can use an isopentane. This one has been also implemented here in I think Ormat, they're using a binary technology. So we did our own competitive bidding within our Renco, and we said, okay, how can we mitigate or how can we utilize these wells? And what we did, we identified 3 companies, and eventually we awarded one company called XAG. XAG is number 2 after Ormat. When you look at the website or information, they are available to us. So XAG actually we are providing the also technology risk. Now, number 3, we look at the EPC risk. So we said we need a company which now can offer us engineering, procurement, construction, and up to commissioning of the power plant. So we identified an EPC contractor. The EPC contractor in our case will provide us with the construction risk. Will give us the performance security for the power plant. They'll give us also, in addition to that, liquidated damages. Just in case after we have commissioned the power plant.
All right.
There are other factors like, for example, reliability test run. If it doesn't meet the reliability or the capacity,
all right,
what do you look at? Number 4, which is the last one, is the operations. How do we look at the risk on operations? So we identified a company called HD in our case, so that they can offer us an operation and maintenance for the power plants.
Okay.
So they will issue us a guarantee of 10% of the revenues just to mitigate the risk. And actually this concept, so the leasing concept on that power plant will kick in once you have commissioned the power plants. So the rental fee and the tariff, which will be invoicing to KenGen, will now kick in at the point where we are now commissioned the power plant, we are signed off with KenGen, we are signed off with independent engineer, and also all other parties, like, for example, if it is Kenya Power. And then KenGen will have an arrangement whereby they are signing a PPA between KenGen and Kenya Power.
All right.
So it's...
All right. Before you sit, that gentleman in a red sweater, please stand, sir. Yes, you. Yes, stand. I want to use you as an example. And realize, as we are doing this, there are presentations, some slides that are also running on the background. So be keen, because the team from Rentco is running this. We may not have a direct time to directly refer to them, but it's very useful to you. So this technical risk assessment that you're doing, how do you translate it into a language that he, in this, he's embodying, or the role he's playing is an investor's role, including perhaps direct foreign investment. How do you translate this technical risk assessment to a financial language that an investor would understand? Thank you, sir. What's your good name? Sorry? Nyafua. Thank you, Nyafua. How do you translate that technical risk assessment into a language that investors would understand?
Maybe, okay, maybe I look at it in a different perspective, that, because usually if you have been to a power plant, like, for example, the one in KenGen here, you see, once you put in an investment, you already is an investor, you want to put in money to build a power plant. You are looking at the revenues as an investor, or return on investment, or you are for investing in that project. So you'll want to install a power plant, which after commissioning, it can be able to be operated and generate revenues. So in our case, we're at the point of procurement of, for example, the technology provider, which is, for example, Toshiba. We are looking at, will this equipment, once I have installed this equipment, will it be able to operate optimally as provided during the procurement, at that point of procurement where we are being given, like, for example, capacity factors? Will it meet the requirements of under Energy Act? For example, you are required the required voltages in Kenya. For example, if it is 220 kV, 132 kV, with the frequencies. So you look at this equipment, will it be able to match whatever we have here in Kenya? Additional to that, the contractor will use.
Proceed, yes.
The contractor you are going to identify to construct for you the power plant. This contractor, will he be able to actually construct the power plant, give you the performance guarantee, do the civil works, electromechanical, until they do also the substation and commissioning of the power plant? So, and also, in addition to that, who will be your operator? So you look at also, who will I award as an operator for this power plant? Maybe, for example, I noted KenGen have their own expertise. They have trained, they have done what's called a technology transfer. So, but if you have a financial, for example, he's a financial, he'll be looking at how will you operate this power plant? Will you have someone who has that expertise to operate the power plant? So we have mitigated all those issues by addressing them and having the companies which have experience to do all that, whatever is required.
All right, perhaps Nyasimi, you can tell us, there is the issue of once we've leased, maintenance. Do you want to speak to who runs the maintenance and that process? And also, for any particular player who wants to lease asset from Rentco, how do we start? Let's explain that very simply. You want to stand? Is there anyone in the crowd who wants to shoot something? Before you respond, let's start with you.
Thank you. I like that you've just asked us, because I was going to ask, now that you're dealing with such big projects, and my work is dealing with members of parliament. And a day-to-day matter, you will hear them saying something is happening in the county or in the constituency and I don't know what to do about it, particularly matters of agro-processing. I'll speak about the counties of Nyandarua, Muranga, such counties where farmers are facing so much loss due to the perishability of their products. So my question is, could RENCO leasing model be applied to county level agro-processing so that these cooperatives or farmers can actually depend on your infrastructure? And what measures would you ensure that it is inclusive and directly improves the farmer in terms of their incomes? And then this is also in light of the matter I spoke about yesterday, the community green zones. We are looking at this model in the next maybe 5 years, establishing community green zones so that such infrastructure that you're coming up with can run on its own power, on its own energy. Thank you.
All right, let's take one more question. You've not spoken, sir, throughout this conference, have you?
Thank you so much. My question is, my name is Simon Kirago, working with SNV Development Organization. You're talking about high-ticket projects. Do you have case studies where, for example, we can be able to borrow some ideas in terms of how we could probably like decentralize systems where we're working with communities and how that can roll out, or even when we are working in the productive use of renewable energy, because we are working in small nuggets, but collectively adds up to something that can be able to really move the energy sector in terms of access, in terms of also empowering communities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You want to respond to the two?
Yes, and I'm happy both of them are talking to the county, sort of. So to the lady who represents Parliament, when it comes to county, we have a good story and a very sad story. So, you know, we ended up investing about $8 million when we leased road construction equipment to the government of Laikipia. And when the governor changed, the new governor came in and, you know, terminated one aspect of the lease that we had given them and left the other to run. So it was a bit confusing because both of them were based on leasing. So the problem with the counties is that that continuity is where we have a problem. Remember, at the back of this leasing, there is the bank that extends credit to us for us to be able to lease. So whereas it took us about 2 years to reach financial closure for the county of Laikipia, because we had to get an opinion from the Ministry of Finance, we had to engage the Auditor General to give an opinion, we needed an account open at Central Bank for purposes of escrowing the whatever to guarantee the lease payment. So it was a long process, but it happened. But when the governor was changed, then we are in arbitration as we speak. So how can we look at de-risking counties? So we've come to this idea that they should probably create a parastatal within the county, yeah, which now has a life of its own beyond the governor who is in place. So yes, we'd like to do that greening and everything, but you find that if I lease to you and then I try and only lease for the period the governor is in office, first of all, it takes like a year to conclude. So it will mean I'll only do a lease for 3 years so that I have 1 year to make sure I've collected all my payments before the new government comes in. And when the period is small, then the payments are higher, then it doesn't make sense. Because you know we are supposed to lease based on the useful life of a particular asset. Right. Number two, to SNV. Yes, we can do that. We've been exploring Trukana, which runs on mini-grids. We're about to sign an MOU with them so that we can do mini-grids from various places where they are doing water catchment issues. Lake Turkana, there's a fish potential there. They have cold storage that have been run down. So we want to install cold storage for them, solarize, so that the farmers can have where they can put their fish and export to DRC.
All right.
So those are kind of things that we can work with you.
Perhaps Motoraki, you could tell us, do you have statistics, data? Because we are just about to wind up, ladies and gentlemen. You won't believe that that session, that masterclass, has taken the time it was intended to take. However, do you have data to show the level or the percentage, should I say, of capital that would be reduced if an investor or it opted to go the leasing way, other than, putting in place financial resources? Motoraki.
Thank you. Perhaps before I take that question, allow me to enhance a response that was given to one of the members who asked about the ticket size that we lease. Yesterday, our group CEO, Robert, said, we don't look at it from CapEx or ticket size perspective, but from the perspective of, is the project bankable? All right? To even put that in context, we do have clients in retail sector, the fuel stations, that we have been able to aggregate, and we do for them solar solutions. And this, a petrol station could be taking like 20 kilowatt peak. So those in energy, that's quite almost a domestic size. So we do have innovations that can address even smaller tickets. Now, to the question on statistics of by how much can you have a relief in terms of CapEx? In modeling leasing, we call that residual value. And depending on the kind of asset we're talking about, it could range from 20% all the way even to 40%. So it's really a better option than a loan which will be amortized at 100%.
All right. Allow me to take 3 questions, which you will answer in 30 seconds each. One from this side, one from here, and the last one here. You are an innovator. Perhaps you have a question about leasing and something you'd want them to expound on.
Okay, thank you so much. Actually, I'm Felix Juma Omondi, a young innovator. Recently, we invented a momentous gravity battery. This is basically a mechanical battery that stores the excess energy from the renewables, such as wind and sun. So the thing is, the question is, as you all know that young innovators, actually we are experiencing a lot of challenges based on financing. So the question is, I as a young innovator, what can you tell me? Or how can you assist me? Thank you.
All right, let's do this, ladies and gentlemen. Let me see everyone who has a question. Everyone who has a question. How many hands are up? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, they're cropping up. I want to ask this. This is your conference. This is about your learning. So you decide. We have 6 people who want to shoot questions. Do we take all the 6? Do we take 5, 4, 3, 2, 1? How many do you propose? How many are for 6? 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So let me see all the 6 hands, please. Not any other. Now these are more than 6. Let me start with you, sir, in white.
Yes, my name is Vincent Kiprotich. I'm a design engineer from REREC. My question is, after you have done the CapEx, do you also envision transitioning to OpEx? And at what point do you exit? Are you also considering rent-to-own arrangement? That's my question.
Rent-to-own arrangement was also part of the questions I had. I'm glad the gentleman from REREC has brought it out. The second hand was somewhere here. We will take the first 3, then the last 3.
I'm Francis Makabwa from KenGen. You have apportioned all the risks, but I didn't see you apportioning the risk of the certainty of the revenue stream. Supposing the revenue streams don't flow in as expected, is there a chance that you can lose that asset? If you are like for a KenGen, this power plant we are leasing to you to run for a period of time, run for a period of time. Supposing the revenues don't flow in as expected, what happens? Does it mean KenGen runs the risk of losing that asset to you?
All right, I'll take the last question for this round of questions. I'll come to this side. More questions means the topic is interesting and we're making sense. That's why I want to run this by you. I will not add.
Thank you. There's a slide that you put, I think slide number 1 or 2. One of the biggest issues that we face, especially in our country, in Uganda, is the issue of feasibility. Because by the time you carry out the studies to ensure that the project is bankable, it's a whole long process, and who funds that? So you find a number of projects that would have been deemed viable do not come to, because no one wants to take the risk of feasibility. So at what point do you come in? Do you come in after you have certainty that the resource is there, the project will be viable, or you can come from the whole onset? And then when it comes to feasibility, to what extent do you, if you at all do it, to what extent do you extend your studies? And what risk do you take in that regard? Lastly, how do you recover your money, and what is the concession term?
Who wants to take that? Is it Nyasimi, Mutoraki, or Engineer Rotich?
Yeah.
Nyasimi.
Which particular? This is the last one?
You can pick any. You can agree on how to respond to. We have 4 questions so far. There was the first one, then the 3. Okay. Remember to stand and speak to your people.
Yeah. I'll pick maybe the 3 questions out of those 4, because I know there are more questions coming. To the gentleman who's innovated the battery, and to any supplier that is in this room, yeah, you've innovated a product. You know that who you are targeting for the particular product, and you go to them. You're trying to get them to buy that product. If you include a leasing solution, a financing solution with your product, then it's so much easier to get it over the board. So that's a lot of our customers or referrals comes from suppliers who say, I have this project, the customer doesn't have CapEx, then we provide a financing solution, and that is how we manage to scale. So that is the kind of partnership that would work with. The gentleman from REREC, unfortunately, you're in the public sector. Public sector, when you do lease to own, it sort of suggests a finance lease. A finance lease is a debt, which again has to go, you have to get approvals from Treasury and all manner of things. And remember, being a public entity, you're also not supposed to buy, it's government policy not to buy used assets. You remember what happened to Alfred Mutua when he bought used cars for his executives. Yeah, so I'd really, really encourage you that yours should be a leasing product which makes it a service, and then you don't have too much issues on that. Yeah. However, under the PPP Act, if it is a long-term project like what KenGen has, then at the end of the period, we do what we call a peppercorn transfer. So, but you still charge $1 every year until whatever period comes, so that you meet certain definition of what an operating lease is. Feasibility study. Rentco, we are in Uganda. Yeah, we have a fleet of 500 cars. So we've signed an MOU, for example, with the municipal of Entebbe to do waste to green coal for the waste that is dumped at Incuba, and will be breaking ground sometime in October. Yeah, and one of the things that, as part of delivering that project, because the municipal council didn't have funds even to do the feasibility study, within the consortium that we've created, we are going to do that feasibility study. But it's not all the time that we do the feasibility study. Because remember, leasing solves a CapEx problem. Meaning, the procuring entity already knows what they want. Yeah? So they would have already incurred that feasibility study, or there's a way they've reached that decision that we need this asset. So we are just coming to solve that CapEx problem for them and telling them, you know what? The same equipment you wanted to buy, let us pay you a supply on your behalf and rent it for you, and you pay us slowly over the next 5, 10 years, whatever period it is.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we are officially in your lunch hour. Officially. We said we'll take 6. There are 3 remaining. Do we proceed? Do we cancel it? How many are for cancelling? How many are for proceed? So the 3 questions. There was a hand on this side.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is John Mathu. I work for a company called Shindra with the business of designing, installing, and modernizing elevators. In specific segments, we normally have buildings with very old equipment. And in that case, we normally package a modernization proposal. Out of the many projects I've undertaken, I found a situation whereby maybe the customer was paying in the range of 2 million monthly bills on electricity. But after modernizing, you will see the customer starting paying something like 1.2, meaning there's 800,000 saving per month. And the whole thing is, as far as the framework is concerned in the country, it's a bit not sensitive to that kind of a segment. So my question here is this some of the projects we can be able to package together? We go to a customer and we are able to do some feasibility studies in terms of that kind of potential saving. And then you offload the capital in advance so that the customer does not have to incur the capex. We implement the project and then we are able to conclude it. Thank you.
All right. I'm reminded that there's a question that was not answered. I'll allow you to speak and tell us what that question was.
There's a question that came from the manager from Kenzen, Francis Makabwa, regarding the revenue stream assurance.
All right. The last hand. Let's respond to those 2 questions. Motoraki.
The gentleman at the end talked about elevators. I think the question didn't come out, but I get is asking, can we lease elevators? The answer is yes. We need to look at the capex. We need to study the client needs, and we structure a list that can be able to get that capex out of their hands. Yeah. Regarding the question about Kengen, that's a big one.
Yeah, thank you. And just to add to what Julius has said about the lifts, it's something we've done before. All of you have been to Westgate Mall, yeah? If I told you all the escalators in that mall, the air conditioning, all those pipes that you used to see there, all those, and the lifts that were in that building, I did it on lease. So I can confirm it's something we've already done, and it's doable. And what he didn't tell you is, we work the lease in such a way that our lease payment comes from the customer's savings. You get? Such that if his bill was 2 million, we want to give him an advantage from day one. So we calculate in such a way that whatever he pays after paying our lease, there is maybe a 20-30% margin that remains with them. So they have a saving from day one. To go to the issue about Kengen, look, first of all, as Moses said, we have really de-risked this project. We are selling to you at a tariff of 5.65, and then you'll choose whether it goes to KPLC at 7.9 or you take to your energy park at 7, so you're getting a margin when you on-sell that power. But we are not, first of all, working with Toshiba, with XAG, they are giving us warranties and performance guarantees in terms of the equipment. As I don't want to go back because all the risk had been mitigated. In addition, we are taking insurances, you get, against revenue loss in case something happens to this. Okay, not really the steam, but we are taking, there is a list of 9 insurances that you required us to take, that in the event anything happens to that particular well, and there's a period where there is no revenue being generated, meaning we are not able to deliver power to you, so you cannot pay for what we have not delivered, that helps mitigate for you. And if any well was to fail, the arrangement we have with you is that you will give an alternative well. The power plants we are getting are modular, meaning they can be moved to a well that is performing.
Fair enough.
So it is quite well, it's a fair deal.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Thank you very much, CEO. Allow me, CEO, to request you to allow Engineer Rotich 1 minute of closing comment on behalf of the entire team. Why is what you're telling us the way to go? As you do that, you'll also tell us, how do we find RentCo? So you are the closing word, the last word.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that question. Where you can find RentCo? RentCo, we are big. As you can see, I think in that slide, we have our footprints in many countries. Here in Kenya, especially our head office in Kenya is in Nairobi. And we have other footprints in East Africa. We have our office in Uganda. We have our office in Rwanda. We have our office in Tanzania.
All right.
And we are moving to other countries.
An email address or something?
Yes, we have.
Okay, let's have the slide with that, with the contacts. The last slide, please. Then why is leasing the way to go in less than 30 seconds? I'm looking at my clock.
Thank you. Leasing is the way to go because it unlocks the financing. Once, if you need to maybe put up any assets, be it an equipment by a renewable energy, you can come to RentCo. We can be able to structure with you, and we can be able to access the financing as soon as possible. Maybe you have a procurement procedure which has been identified and you have awarded a contract. You can walk into RentCo. RentCo we will structure with you. They will work with the financial.
Right.
You will have a quick solution for you,
right,
and we'll be able to deliver the project.
Yes, you've requested for 30 seconds.
One kind request. One kind request.
We are into their time. Allow me to allow Nyasimi.
This is to GDC only.
All right.
Yes.
10 seconds, sir.
For the wells which we are drill, chairman, are far apart. The best solution is for lease and a wellhead.
Thank you. Nyasimi, 30 seconds.
In 30 seconds, leasing works for everybody. It works for the customer. You get the asset you need on a payment term. It works for the supplier. What your customer would have paid you, I'm paying you. It works for the bank. I'm not in competition with the banks. The banks still get to earn the interest that they were going to earn, but they're channeling the financing through me so that it can be a service to the customer. You know, so leasing works for everybody. We are not in competition with anyone. We act like the aggregator for all of you, that the customer gets the benefit. You as a supplier, you're able to sell. The bank finances. Someone does operation and maintenance. And then we create that multiplier effect in the economy.
Point made. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Let's appreciate the team from RentCo, Nyasimi, the CEO, Motoraki, as well as Engineer Rotich. Gentlemen, thank you very much. May you be front and center for a quick photo session. I think I'll join you. At this particular point, ladies and gentlemen, we have concluded the last session of the day, which was this particular masterclass. All the informational materials will be sent to you, right? All the informational materials will be sent to you in case you want to reach out. Do that. The contacts are there. The email is info@rentcoafrica.com. Asante sana. Thank you very much. We allow you to take your positions back. Ladies and gentlemen, we really thank you for sitting through these sessions. It is 2 minutes to the top of the hour. This is our last session. You're allowed, I'll give order on how to go about this. You're allowed to go for lunch immediately after we proceed for that tour. Those in a blue lanyard, like mine, will be allowed to exit first. Once you exit, take your right, then go to the tent right behind the spa. Then those in an orange lanyard will stay behind. We will show you how to go immediately after. For now, I'd request that we all be upstanding for the national anthem.